coding for like the last week and a half is because Go 1.18 is coming out, and it requires me to redo so many of my base libraries to make use of the better tools, and I've been doing that. So that's why you're seeing so much Go coding lately. That's why you're seeing so much Go coding lately. I'm also intending to rewrite a lot of my Bash code and tools, Zettelkasten, Pomodoro, the Twitch tool, the live streaming tool. All of those things are going to be redone in Go. We can actually make a generic HTTP client that will process any response using an unmarshaled structure because of generics. Without generics, what we're going to do today would not be possible because we're going to make a specific structure and pass that generic structure to the client. So 20-second clip summarizing what I'm going to do. Here it is. So we're going to be today we're going to be making a new repo. I'm going to call it repo HTTP. I'm going to be putting my own versions of some of those popular HTTP commands in there. HTTP is the web. That's where you fetch things and stuff like that. Basically, common curl commands in Go. Create it from scratch. Yes, I want to name it HTTP. What is it? Go HTTP common requests. Public. Yes. License. Yes. Apache. Yes. Yes. So that pulls it down. It pulls down a local repo and creates a folder for you locally. And you can go into it. And there you go. So I'm all here. So the first thing to do to make a GitHub repo, any GitHub repo, is to use the GitHub repo create, which I just did. And then to add a license, to add a README file, to add a .github file that has your sponsorships and stuff in it, to add a contributing file, so for like licenses and stuff like that, and then the scaffolding for the Golang program. So that's what we're going to do right now. What I just did there is I'm grabbing a snippet from my Bonsai. I grabbed the README that I already have, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to change all the badge tags in here to go with something else. And that's going to give us those nifty badges at the top that everybody wants. Mostly I just copy it from previous projects and put it over here. And then it just kind of works, But this is what the main things that I have: a README, a license, a contributing file, and the dot thing, and then the dot ignore, depending on the language. Those are the main things that you have to have it, show up fine. I don't mind doing public things. There's people have mixed feelings about being public with stuff that they're working on. And people forget to take off their under construction all the time. So, but I still think it's worth having so somebody doesn't kind of try to come in here and start using it right away. A new Go project. And everything that I'm going to be doing is very specific to Go 1.18. So pay attention if you want to learn how to do a modern Go project using the new Go workspace, which no one else has covered on the internet at all. So we're going to go ahead and go do that. Go came from Google, but it's not just Google. So now you can see the go.mod file has this 1.18, and it's a lot of other stuff are going to be added. Go workspaces are amazing. All right. So the first thing we want to add to it is the init. Use dot. And there's a reason for that, but that's mostly so that anything that doesn't know how to resolve particular unit tests will find the right package, and they will look in the current directory instead of using GoPath or any of that nonsense. Go project is whether it's going to be a super big project with lots of commands and libraries and packages in it, or is it going to be just a command, like an executable, like a shell script replacement, or is it going to be a library that other things are going to use? So that's the first thing you have to decide. Which of those things? Right now, we're definitely just making a library. In fact, we're making a very, very high-level library. We're making a library that's going to be basically replacing curl for most things. And it needs to be really generic, keyword there, in order to be like curl without causing us to code a lot. At the beginning of it has HTTP in it. And then you should always make a test file as well. And in the test file is going to have _test, and that's going to force us to use it as if anybody else were using it, so that your examples resolve the same way for users as you would do any other way. Everything in the boilerplate, it's called, or it's called scaffolding. So scaffolding is when you kind of put all the structures in place so that you can start building the building. And that's what we're doing. We're scaffolding the project, even though it's a small one. What would we do? We would start by writing our tests, or our HTTP tests. And I suppose that's fine. But we really don't know what it is we're building yet. So I have a habit of like working things out, doing with like a little bit of testing, a little bit of coding, a little bit of testing, and then trying to figure out what it is we're actually building. We're building one command for post and put and get for HTTP that takes care of all the extra crap that you have to do in Go that gets in the way, so that it feels like you're doing shell scripting. That's what we're making. Normally, if you're doing a web request, it's a pain in the ass. I mean, you have to like set up a context and you have to do this and that. And it's just the pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass. It's not like writing a curl command and then being done with it, right? And so we're going to try to get around that and get over some of that problem. You'll see some of the things that I've already put layers on top of that make it simpler. Because why? Because I want to replace more of my bash scripts with Go. That means that I need to make more higher level utilities. And some of them are probably already been made, but I want them in my style, and it's not that hard to make them. So that's what we're doing. Thing where I talked about focus. I can't do it. It's just, it's great. Life happens, right? But you want to get shit done, forget it. I know. Yes, of course I'm in love. Yeah. Yes. Generation, if I have this available, I can leave objects the way they are, and if I want to turn those objects into something that can be represented as JSON, I can just use a generic and map it. And that's super cool. Okay, so we did a little bit of a side quest, and I added a JSON universal marshaller. So you can just do JSON.object and you do your thing. Oh, I have a meeting. God damn it. I got a meeting right now. I'm going to have to wait. I'm being late for my meeting. Bye. No blinking. All right. Thank you for that. There we go. It's official. I have a non-blinking fat cursor again. The problem with the HTTP post is that you have to still do all the parsing. The most annoying thing about the present state of Go HTTP stuff is having to parse the response and marshal it into a JSON struct. It is annoying as hell to do that. I avoided that problem. I just mocked a web server in my example tests. Yeah, that's pretty stinking awesome. Yeah, definitely good knowledge to learn there. All right, I don't know if I can drink that. That's gonna knock me out. I know. I think most of it went on my beard. Oh, I'm going to make a little video about this. So yeah, I think this is awesome. Teach yourself computer science. This kind of thing is the kind of thing that I really support. This is teachyourselfcs.com. I haven't gone through any of it, but this is the kind of thing I like to promote and see more of, because you really don't need to pay a lot of money to learn to standard input for a script or whatever, any executable on the system. It just so happens Perl got really popular because it was safer and easier and more powerful than Bash or Shell, and it was safe. It was faster to code in than C, and those were the only options. So that's why Perl blew up, by the way, just to let you know. And took it away. They just took it away. They didn't even ask. These are paying fucking customers, and they decided that they were going to let them still play and have a thing, but they just destroyed their company by doing whatever the fuck they wanted to with their security credentials. If you think that's okay, I don't know what planet you're on. Imagine if they decide to cancel you because you think gay marriage is a good thing and they decide that it's not, or something like that. The fact that they're able to enact these kinds of political decisions without a whim and just take out full sections of the internet is fucking terrifying. And if you don't think that's terrifying, you need to wake the fuck up. I'm not against cloud providers. I think people should have the choice. But if I had to choose between a cloud provider and running an on-prem service, I would rather an internet where a lot of people are responsibly using on-prem internet services and are using internet as designed, so that we don't have centralization, which is fucking horrible. And that's the proper way to do it. I don't give a shit about what you think about my ability to think through a problem and how fast I do anything. It's like, you are hiring me to do a job for you. Whether I can do that job or not is the only thing that you get to test. Anything else is illegal. Googling. You should be able to Google shit so fast you can find it in milliseconds.
The faster you're able to do research, the faster you are able to perform on the job, the faster you'll be able to do everything. And you're a better employee by doing that. So stop feeling disgraced because you're searching for shit and learn how to do it faster. Why do we need a null and get? Because we don't. If somebody wants to do a query string, it's always going to be better to do a query string and using data values, URL values, than it is to put the query string, because then they can encode it and escape it. We want to encourage that. We don't want to discourage people from doing query string URLs, because if they try to build their own query string, they will fucking fail every time because they're not going to escape it. Not me. I like try to hold out for an extra 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, and then I really should just search 5 minutes ago. As it's the fucking ego thing. If you can get over your ego and get the search done first and just go, oh, okay, yeah, and then see it, you'll be a much more effective employee and a much more productive human being in terms of technology. Search to do the same thing, and you found the exact verbatim words. Like, oh, cut and paste coder. Cut and paste coder, I just found the code you found. Anybody ever have that experience? It happens in SRE land a lot because they're not programmers by design. They're usually looking for stuff that it was just shit I had coded that he had just copy and pasted for projects we did at SkillStack, and he put it in his own thing. So just, have some fucking ethics. I mean, and by the way, understand what it is you're doing. At the end. They still had an interview at the end, and they asked you to talk about what you did and talk about why you did it. So it wasn't just a cut and paste. You could find the solutions, but you had to understand the solutions, and you had to prove that you learned to understand those solutions during that week. And I think that's better than a coding interview any day. You don't need to master something to get a job in it. You need to be able to perform in it. You need to prove that you're trustworthy and able to learn what is needed to get the job done. I was hired to do Kubernetes, and I told them point blank, I have zero Kubernetes experience. They hired me anyway in it. You need to be able to master it, and you need to demonstrate that you are trustworthy in the source of that you can learn, particularly when there's a drought of people who have even the ability and the willingness to learn anything. You can, if you're talking about getting a job, it's a much different thing than mastery. What do you even mean by mastery? I need to say that this whole Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour thing has been widely debunked as scientific bullshit. It has no basis in fact. It's a nice idea. It's a nice round number, and it's a nice goal to have, but it has no scientific basis. Master to you, you need to immediately put on all kinds of fucking red flags, because as soon as you say you've mastered something, you think that you've arrived, and that is super fucking dangerous. You should never feel like you've arrived. You should always feel like there's more to learn. Quote after quote of him saying, we've learned through Dutch experience that non-strictly typed languages are bad for large projects. That's Guido's own fucking words. He's with him wanting to be like a TypeScript fanboy and then going to Pagan and trying to remake it. Go read it all. So even Guido's not a master. You're fucked. Seriously. As soon as you think you're a master, you're fucked, because you think you've arrived and now you're a problem. You're everybody's bane of existence, because now you think that you are the shit. And as soon as you start acting that way, God help everyone around you. Critical that you have a Git repo, even if you're a hacker or an SRE, because without that, you have no instrument for demonstrating what you know. You've either written about your lab at home, or you've written about your written software or something. You have no way to prove you know what you know. Fluid, and that means that we only have available to us what we have studied and mastered within the last month or so. Everything else fades away. And that's just the nature of the beast. What's more important is your ability to re-up when you need to. If you don't have that, you're fucked. Get out of tech. To admit they don't know shit. By the way, if any person like that is on your team or in a management position around you, run the fuck away and find another job. You don't want anything to do with any type of person in that environment, because the whole fucking thing will come crashing down around that person. But if you run into somebody who systematically manages the truth and the perception of others around them and is just bullshitting, whether it's a mechanic at like an automotive dealership or it's a tech person, you want to run the fuck away from them and never be around that person. Major Fortune 500 companies terrifies the fuck out of me. It terrifies the fuck out of me. We are literally just like this close from absolute catastrophe at any moment, and nobody even knows it because they're not seeing how close we are. Yeah. It's like the shit that goes down. It's just crazy. I love my company and my team, but it's crazy. Yeah. and you're the only dev. I know. It's like people don't realize how fragile the IT environments are all over the world. All over the world. I see this shit every fucking day, and I'm like, I cannot deal. I'm like, somebody has got to take it on and has to help these people learn these basic system administration SRE skills, because if I don't, nobody's going to fucking do it. V command. That actually happened. That actually happened. I would not tell you that story if it did not happen. I could not believe it. I was like, what the fuck? This is like a PhD in machine learning. But it's not about typing speed. And so anytime I see a streamer or a YouTuber who like tries to overwhelm you with their typing speed, I'm like, okay. It's just a cover up for them not knowing that Go is a better programming language than TypeScript, for example. And then he would explode onto the canvas all of a sudden. He was like, and he would just get all this shit done. All of it. And his method was different than this other person's method, but it was effective because the guy was thinking through mentally what to do. And it was much more efficient to do that than to have to erase all the paint every time. Same thing with coding. My address for like a year and a half because I knew I could look it up. And knowing I can look it up is like the ultimate laziness because I know I can look it up. So like, I don't need to memorize it. And I've been doing that my whole life. And I think that's bad. I think I've trained my brain to not memorize things. If you don't understand how your computer works, you have no point of reference when you try to go to understand how the enterprise operating system, Kubernetes, works, because you have nothing to go on. And so that's why it's so important you understand how your computer works first before you get into it. It is off the chart. Get put in patch. What else do we have? I need to see grep all the funks. Give me all the funk. I got the funk. Grep the funk. I grep the funk. I grep the funk. Wouldn't you concur? A full screen cursor is like a little bit better, even though I'm not doing anything with it right now. I'm just like fucking around. Still, it's like so much more useful for me. I can like see it more. It brings my focus better. I'm just saying that I've queued up in a pipe, and this is now, look what you do, HTTP pipe, and you can send all those things off, and they will incrementally add to your state of the passed in pointed to structure of any kind called generics. How the fuck are we passing? I didn't do anything. Wait, why am I passing now? I spent like 20 minutes talking about random shit, and all of a sudden my test pass? What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense.